Okay. So the exam is this week, no new material. Late material, get it caught up by Sunday, February 20th. After that, it's passed. So homework, attendance, you can still get it done for full credit up till Sunday night. It's in two parts. The in-class portion is this Friday, only calculator and pencil. No computers, no cell phones, no watches. And it's during class. There's 8 questions on the in-class portion. And it's worth, well, I just split it in half. It worked out nice this time. They're usually pretty equal. Class portion is a 15-minute exam. There's 8 questions, which means if you don't know your material, you won't finish. I will give you extra time if you need it, but you do understand.
Do these get submitted on Blackboard, or are we getting a physical copy we're giving you?
I'll give you a paper. So for the in-class portion, I will give you a paper copy and you'll turn it back here. Probably the only paper copies I'll collect are the test and the final. The take-home portion, you will submit that on the Blackboard. So the in-class portion, you will not need your, well, you're not permitted to use your computer. For the things we use the internet for, like the inflation calculator and the minimum wage, I just took a picture of one version of it and you use that. So like for the inflation calculator, I plug numbers in and then so they are both on the so that's 2 at least. So this is on Friday during class if you need extra time. I don't know if there's a class in here, but if there is, we can go upstairs to my office. But I don't have another class till noon. Or Friday's only a class. Is what?
The take-home portion is 50 minutes.
No, 50 points. 50 points. This is 50 minutes. This one you can, actually it's up there. So under week 6, there's the outline and the take-home portion of the exam and attendance. This week for attendance, only Monday and Wednesday, because Friday you're going to be here, you're going to sign your test. I don't want you to have to think about that also on Friday. But Monday and Wednesday are simple. All you're doing is rewriting what I wrote and signing it so that I know, like this one. Write on paper, I understand that there's an exam in class Friday, February 18th, and a take-home portion that is due. So it's just making sure you know the rules, so then Friday we don't have to go through all of that. You've already signed that you knew it. And the same thing with Wednesday, it's something similar. I forget what that one was. Do you understand that during the in-class portion of an exam, you need a calculator and pencils? You cannot have a computer, watch, or cell phone. So it's just making sure you know the rules ahead of time. But the take-home portion, I forget if I put it up Saturday morning or Sunday. So it's right here. On the take-home, Each answer you will write a paragraph, but I also want to see the work. And you'll submit it just like you do your homework assignments. So you do not have to print this. You can just put it up on your screen and work it out, or you can print it and then not have to worry about having your computer on, which is fine also. This is the take home. There's 10 questions. The biggest thing is making sure you show all your work and each one's a paragraph. So you don't have to put sentences in between the parts, just give me a paragraph at the end. So show me all your work and then your paragraph. Number 2, all your work and then a paragraph. Each one. I mean, it doesn't have to be long. Paragraph, what, 4 sentences? 5 sentences. But if it's a short one, it doesn't, and I might have even put that, or maybe that was on the in-class one. But anyways, so there's 10 problems. On Wednesday, at least the second half of Wednesday, depending on how much we still need to cover to review, I will allow you to work together or individually on the take-home portion, and I'll come around and answer questions. So I recommend going through and trying them first, see where you're stuck, where you have a question. Simple ones, do them, check with your neighbor to see if they match so you know that you didn't do something stupid. Doing that, I go, oh, this is easy, and then you rush through it and then you missed a decimal or something. So that's what I recommend, but that's up to you. Any questions? So the take-home portion is up there. It is due Sunday night. You can work together, but make sure you understand the material, because when you get to the final, if you don't understand it, then you're in trouble. So don't copy someone's work. Understand how they got there, or both of you do it and then check. You learn even more that way. Because if you both do it and one of them's wrong, then you both got to figure out who's right, and you understand the problem better. So the take home, I'm not going to say you can't get any help, because you know someone's going to, so you might as well all get help if you need it. You can also send me a picture. Am I on the right track? Or ours doesn't match. Where'd we go wrong? Okay. I think that's everything. Any questions? So the in-class portion, I will hand you it, and you'll, I made it small, like it's not, I'll give you paper to work on with it. Rather than printing 5, 6 pages, I put it, I think it's 2 pages, 1 paper, 2 sides. Okay. The outline. The exam will be broken into 2 parts. One part is take home, due Sunday, February 20th at 11:59 p.m. The other is in class on Friday, February 18th. If you're going to miss the exam, it must be a verified excuse, one approved by Youngstown State. They have a list of approved reasons for missing. And I must be notified before the in-class exam starts, or you'll receive a 0. Now, if your alarm clock doesn't go off and you don't make it to class, call me immediately, but don't go crazy. We'll figure something out. I've had students like crying on the phone. So, I mean, things happen. In-class portion will be no computer, no phone, and no watch. So it's written in a lot of places, but I still have people who aren't going to. Okay, outline. All graded material from chapters 1 through 5. Well, that means I would look over all of your homework, especially the ones that we do similar ones in class today and tomorrow. So all of your homework, we'll review it so you understand it, and the group assignments. So those would all be ones that you should review. And that's why we've already done those in class. Being able to write back and forth decimal, percent, and fraction. There'll be ones where I'll have you solve it and then write it as a decimal, percent, and a fraction. Because it's important for when we get to probability. We have 1/2, that's the fraction. How do you find the decimal? And you can plug it in your calculator. 1 divided by 2. And how do we get the percent? Multiply the decimal by 100. Go ahead and try those. So we have 75%. How do we get the decimal? Yeah. You can divide by 100. Or move the decimal to the left 2. But by dividing by 100, it's also getting your fraction then. You just need to reduce it. When you have your decimal and you're going to your fraction, whatever position is the rightmost, that's what it's divided by. 10 hundredths, so 75 over 100. And then it'll reduce by 25. So the biggest one, I think, I shouldn't say biggest, the one that's confused the most is going from either one of these to fraction. The other way, don't usually see any problems. For 0.4, multiply by 100 or move it to the right 2 for 40%. What do we get for the fraction? It's the 10th position, so we got 4 tenths, and then when we reduce it, we have 2. So both were correct. You should reduce fractions, but when we get into probabilities, we won't reduce them because then we want them to add up to 1. So we'll keep the same denominators. Any questions on converting back and forth? So there'll be some where maybe you get an answer as a decimal, but I want it in a fraction form, something like that. Yeah, I didn't finish the test. I fell asleep last night. Usually I take the test ahead of time. I don't remember having to convert, but it could be there. Any questions on writing back and forth? Standard form and scientific form. I know it's either the first or second problem on the in class. You have to find an answer and write it in both forms. Probably something to do. Let me see. I think there's one on the outline. No, there was one. Number 23. It says 1.09% of Americans are high school seniors. How many Americans are high school seniors? How do we find that? Think of the words I taught you. What percent of Americans are high school seniors? What's of mean? Multiply. Of means multiply. What's 1.09 as a decimal? Yep, because we're going to move over to 0.0109 times the number of Americans. How many Americans are there? That works. 300, did you say 33? Some average between 300 and 332, 333 million. I don't know if I wrote what we said in class, but you do want to remember that paper of numbers to know, you need to know them. It is the first week. Make sure you know these. On here, we put 332 million, but somewhere around 330 million is what you want to use. So if you put 100 million, it's going to be wrong. You have to have an idea about what it is. So anywhere around 330 million. So find your answer, put it in standard form and scientific. You see, okay. Hate not being able to use this one. Okay, so when you multiply those, how many zeros is in this million? First group makes that 333,000 million. So 3.6 million Americans are high school seniors. Now on this one on the test, because I'm having you put it in standard and scientific notation, it says do not put it in a sentence, just state which is scientific and which is standard. So this one's standard. Where do I need to put the decimal for scientific notation? Between the 3 and the 6, because your number needs to be between 1 and 10. If I go here, then we have 36. That's too large. If I go here, we have 3/10, too small. So I have to go here. And then it's 10 to what power? 6? Positive or negative? Positive. It's positive because this number needs to get bigger. Or you can memorize, if you move your decimal to the left, it's positive. When you move it to the right, it's negative. But then you got to do the opposite when you're down here. Any questions on standard and scientific notation? There's definitely one kind of like this one. It's number 1 or 2 on the in-class portion. Any questions? Is everyone okay with going back and forth, or do you need to do another one? Put that one in scientific notation. So what 2 numbers do we need to put the decimal between?
4
Our exponent is 1, 2, 3. We're moving it that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we want it negative because this 4 needs to get smaller. Any questions on that? Metric system. On the in-class portion, the metric that's on there, because I don't want you to memorize all of them, you should know kilo, centi. Those are the 2 I put on there, but you should also learn terabytes and gigabytes because computers use those, and millimeter you see a lot. But on this test, kilo and centi. So the cheetah runs 500 kilometers per hour. I think our number's gonna get really large. So the cheetah runs 5 kilometers per hour. How many centimeters in a minute? There's definitely one kind of like this one, I think. I don't think I moved it to the. Mhm.
We go 2 meters. It's like from kilo 2 meters and then to the center, right?
That's what I would do. Remember, of meant multiplied, per means divide. So 5 kilometers per hour, 5 kilometers hours. Now, if you needed it the opposite way, you can always flip this fraction to work with, depending on what you need. But we want per hour and per minute, so we want to keep the time on the bottom. I think there was a homework problem where it was better to flip it. Okay, so instead of kilometers, we should go to meters. How many meters are in a kilometer? Kilo means 1,000. I put the kilometers in the bottom so that they would cancel. But we wanted centimeters. And will we put meters or centimeters in the bottom? Okay, so 1 meter. What is centi? A 100. So 100 centimeters is a meter. Now we have centimeters, but we still got to get to minutes. Questions on that? This would probably be one I might ask you to do rounding. No, I don't. But there is one where I have you set it all up, find the exact value, and then show me how you would round it. This one, there's so many hundreds, it's not a good one for rounding. Or so many zeros. Okay, can we go from hours to minutes? How many minutes is an hour? I'm putting hours or minutes on top. Because I wanted to cancel with this one and it's in the bottom. I'm going to put 1 hour. For finding the exact value. I see. centimeters. Any questions on that? So centimeters per, I was gonna go to second, but I thought my number would get too big, but it would have been even smaller. if I got that. Any questions? We were gonna do this one with rounding. You would cancel your zeros. Then to round, you would either make this a 6 or this a 5. That way it would go easily. Well, what else is there? 6 times 9 is 54. So I could make this 54,000. 54 divided by 6 is 9. There's a few different ways you could do it, but if I asked you to find the exact value and then to estimate it, so you could have rounded this to 54 so that it divides evenly. Or you could have rounded this to a 6, so then they divide evenly, or make this a 5. Questions on that? So there's a few different ways you could have done it. 48, you could have made it 48,000. So when you're doing rounding, you want to make this something close, but you're just getting an estimate. This isn't too far off. 48 would have been better. But instead of the 54, I rounded it to 48,000. Divided by the 6. But none of them are wrong. They're an estimate that you're using in your mind. It's not. Unless you divide wrong. But any questions on that? So you do want to make sure you know kilometers and centimeters. I will double check, but I don't think there was anything else, at least on the in class. Be able to find grade point average and what's needed. A lot of these. How about the group assignment? So for your group assignment, the first person, you should have found a 2.13 or 2.1 or 2.2. To get the other person's grades higher, you just had to make sure the A's and the B's were in higher credits than the other person. So give your highest one an A, the next one a B, the next one a C, the next one a D. So then your F is only in a 1 credit class. Now you could have done other versions of it. You're finding quality points. You do want to memorize that for the test. For the in-class portion of the exam, you need to memorize that. It's YSU's, you're gonna use it through the whole 4, 5, or 6 years that you're here. So an F is worth 0, an A is worth 4, a B is 3, a C is 2, and a D is 1. So the one problem on the attendance when you're finding quality points, you needed to take the credits times the quality points. I think it was a B. And it was 5 credits, so 5 times 3, it was 15 quality points. For this one, 1 times 0 is 0. 5 times 4, 20. 4 times 3, 12. 2 and 6. Any questions on that? The biggest mistakes on this problem is one, not memorizing this. And the other one is the algebra in the second part of it. For grade point average, I'm going to add these up, 5, 10, 15, and 20, 30. Nice. So the grade point average is the total of the quality points divided by the total credits. Now, you didn't have to have this answer as long as you had one greater than the 2.133333. Any questions on that? So on the test, I would give you like the credits and the grade, and then you need to put these values in or know them. You don't have to show this part. But you do have to find the quality points, grade point average, and one more part. So if you're taking 16 credits, what would be needed to increase your GPA by 0.25? Or is it possible? I think it would be possible. Before I wanted to have you guys think about it, set up for. Add 20 credit or 15 credits at a 2.7. So we need to find our quality points. Now you could have used the quality points of 40. And then we're taking 16 credits. And we want to know what grade point average we need so that we can bring our 2.7 up No, you could have just added these together and put it in there, but I wanted you to see where we got the numbers from. So the 2.7 is what we had. We want to increase it by 0.25. Find grade point average. You take these quality points and divide them by the total credit. I had a formula last time. Let's type it for that. Wednesday. So you can look up Wednesday's last week's video. We made a formula. Want to show all of your work so that you can get partial credit on in-class and take-home. So 15 times 2.7 goes to 40.5, and then 15 and 16 is 31, and these two added is 2.95. Anyone find?
3.1.
Hmm? The first thing. Yeah, get rid of the denominator by multiplying by 30. So that this cancels. Is there any questions on the first step that we multiplied the 31? So now we have a positive 40.5, so we're going to subtract this again. I have calculators, so if you don't have a calculator or you forget it, don't worry about it. And if I forget it, I'll run upstairs and get them. And how do we get rid of the 16? Because we're multiplying by 16 to get rid of it, do the opposite, which is 1, 8, 4, 3, 7. So we're rounding 2 decimal places. Technically, even though it's a 4, you should round it up or you're not going to increase your grade point average to 2.95, you're going to fall up short. So this is a case where you should always round up. I would not take off for 3.18. Maybe I'd give an extra credit point for 3.19, but would not take off. But technically, you should round up or you won't hit that grade point. Any questions on that? That's another one that's on the in class. Given a weighted course, find the current grade and grade needed on the final. So if okay, that'll work out then. So if we have homework is 10 points, attendance is 10 points, exams are a total of 25%, project is 25%, and your final. And your average homework, well, 9, attendance should be 100. Exams, maybe 75, and the project, this one's on the take home. I had it on the end class, but then I wanted to put some other things in it, so then I moved it. So what do you have in the grade? What's your grade before the final? Before the final, yeah. So it's everything but the final. So for a weighted class or a weighted assignment, you multiply each of your percents as a decimal times what their average is. Then we divide by the total weight, which 10, 20, and this is 50, so 70. Now, if you use the decimals in the denominator, it's fine, but then you won't need to multiply by 100. It will already be a percent. If you are entering it all at once, that needs to be in parentheses. getting an 80.7. So I had the decimal, I multiplied by 100 to make it a percent. Any questions so far? All right, what if we want an A? Can we get an A? Well, for an A, at least in our course, you need a 90%. Depends on the weight of the final. If the finals were the high enough percentage, yes, you could. I don't know 25% if that's enough. So we have 70% and an 80.7. Or wait, it should be 75, huh? Sorry, Jen. Homework
The
assignment.
bottom adds up to 70, not 75.
I was right. Oh, shoot. But then the percent wrong, so I divided by the wrong number. But everyone said they got my answer. Or they didn't say anything. So what do we need?
86.43.
Oh, that's better. I'm gonna round it to 86.4, so we don't have to use so much. Sorry about that. 56. I wanted to put the final higher so we could hopefully get an A. So these add up to 70, not 75. Any questions on that part? Just what everyone got? Okay. I just wanted to make sure we did the right rounding. And this would just use normal rounding. Except for forgetting the A, you would round up. All right, so we have 70% and an 86 point plus final is for 30%. I want to know what we need on it to get, if we're trying for an A, we need a 90. If we want to keep our B, we put an 80. Now, if you don't put the 100 here, you have to put the decimal here. But 70 and 30 is 100. These two cancel. Questions so far? I took my weight times my grade point average, and then the finals were 30%. So the 2% add up to 100, which canceled with this 100. Subtract the 60 over. Registered 10. We need a 98.4. It worked out evenly.
Same question is gonna be on the take home and the in class, or once I do the take home, I can relax my brain and focus on.
There are a few, like using percents with an increase and a decrease. Like you're using some of the same things, so some of it is, but like this problem is only on the take home. And then since they're both from the same chapter, I chose the grade point average one back in class. So I had those two main problems from that chapter. I put one on the take home. Some of the ones like that American problem. So the number of high school things like that might be on both, but on the take home you're doing more than on the other one. I'll kind of look and see where the overlap. But yeah, like the minimum wage problem, it's on both, but it's more detailed on the take home. I just want to make sure you're able to read it on the inside. Same thing with the inflation calculator, it's on both. Any questions? But then this is only on the take home. I think on the take home it says, what do you need for an A, B, and a C? And what would you do then? Like for a C, well, this isn't a high A, but students who have high A's, like a 90, going into the final, you might only need a 60 on the final to get a C, or even lower. Sometimes you only need a 30.
So we would, that 90 is for A. So if we needed a B, we would change that to 80.
So we just, the only thing that would change is make this an 80. A C, change it to a 70. You don't want a D or an F, you gotta retake it. So, anything below a C, you have to retake this. Most courses. Any questions so far? Okay, know the numbers to know sheet. Make sure you know those. I don't remember which ones I've used on the test, but I know I've used them. Any questions on that? Here it is. I definitely use inches, centimeters, feet, miles, months, days, years, definitely. Pounds to ounces, gallons to liters. I never remember that one. So if I use it, I will put it on there. But you should know all the rest. A century is 100 years, a decade is 10 years. Population of the U.S. is around 337 million, somewhere in there. Population of the world, 7.9 billion, 8 billion, somewhere in there. Any questions? Earlier in the chapter, yeah, I had just was adding at the beginning of the stuff from this chapter, because normally my test only does the first 4 chapters, but it worked out better to do the other one. I don't like to have too many tests in the same week, and my other classes had tests last week, so. Let's see. Everyone has the numbers you need to know, or you know where it's at. It's under week 1. Given problems, explain how to solve by rounding. We kind of did that in that one problem. Do I still have them up there? Is everyone okay with rounding, or do you need to do another one? We did one. So are we good with that, or we want to see one more? Just not sure if the nods are, because I asked both questions. Okay, I think you're good with that. But if you want to see one, write a note and we'll do it next. I'll make one up for next time. Send me a text. Oh, we could do that in some of these problems. Be able to explain how to multiply and divide in scientific notation. I think I took these off. They were on the in-class portion. I'm just not sure. It's kind of co-rec, it's not really, but just in case. When you're multiplying, what do we do with the exponent? And that's what you would need to explain, that when you're multiplying in scientific notation, you multiply the numbers in front. 6 times 8 is 48. Times 10, and then you add the exponents. So when you multiply, you add your exponents as long as you have the same base, which we do. It's a 10. Now the only problem is it's not in scientific notation anymore, is it? We need to take away a unit. If we're taking away 1 unit here, we need to add the unit there. So then it's 4.8 times 10. They restructured this course. They used to have it separate, so then we had a co-rec quizzes in one test. And so that's why I had this problem, but it might be in one of the assignments, in one of the problems. It's not by itself anymore.
0.48 would take away because
So here we're adding a unit, so we would take it away here. We also had tests without calculators, where this one, you could actually plug this into your calculator, plug this in, multiply them, and then rewrite it. Division. Any questions on multiplication then? Division. When you're dividing, you can divide your numbers. And then what do we do with the exponents? We subtract them. So 8 divided by 4 is 2 times 10, 7 minus 4 times 10 to the third. So I can't remember if I thought it was too long and I took that out because I didn't think I needed it. I took it out and put it in a couple times, so. Is it on the take home? Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, so 5 plus 4 gave me the 9. Then here, because this wasn't in scientific notation, I took away a unit, so I added it.
Okay.
So it was a 9, but then when I moved this over, I had to add it. Any questions? Here's the CPI inflation calculator. Okay, so your inflation calculator is, I put it by itself. I think it's under week 5. Okay. I will move it out so that you're not going crazy looking for it when you want to use it. On week 4 right now, the inflation calculator and the minimum hour paper is there, but I'll move it up to the top. Or maybe I'll put it in both spots that way. If you look for it, it'll be in both. Inflation calculator is this one. And you click on it and it brings you right to the inflation calculator. On the take home, it will ask you to find different things using this, but there's also one on the in class. Now the one on the in class, let's just do a decade. So we'll do 10 years. So it will look like this. So on the in-class portion, I would just have a picture of one kind of like this. It'll already be filled in and what's the inflation rate. I can't remember what else I asked on it. But how would we find the inflation rate? Relative percent change. Old divided by old, and inflation rate should be a percent, so you. It's nice when you're working in numbers. I put $100 in there. I can't remember. I probably did on the test, but just be careful in case I did.
So, confuses inflation rate, but as for that, the formula that we use,
This is, yeah.
relative percentage.
So if you have your calculator and you plug in the old value and it gives you the new value, relative percent change will give you the inflation rate. New 128 minus 100 over 100, and I use it because that's the value I plugged in. This 100 is for the percent. So these two were my number I put in. This is because I want to make it a percent. 28.37%. because this is positive inflation increase. If it was negative, inflation would decrease. And there are a few years where inflation drops. So when you find this, if you get a negative value, that means inflation went down. And there's a few in there. Most of the time it goes up. So in 10 years, it went up 28.37%. If your raise went up 30%, can you buy more than you were buying in the previous years? 10 years ago? As long as it's more than this, yes. If it's the same as this or less, then you can. So this one will be yes, because your raise was more than inflation. But if it was 28.37%, then no. You're just saying even with inflation and everything is going up. Like we found the Super Bowl tickets, what was it, 76,000%, something like that. It was huge. They had a guy on the news that went to every single Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't think I could afford $3,000 a ticket for our Super Bowl. And
Your salary went by 30%, then you're okay because the inflation was on.
right, so you're ahead.
I'm ahead.
Now, what you want to make sure though is you are at least getting your inflation. That way you can stay where you're at least. If you made less than the 28%, then say you got a 20% increase and you're thinking, wow, that's great. But then you look at inflation and it's not so great because I can't afford what I afforded before. So if it's equal to, you can't buy anything more, but you're not in the hole. If it's less than the 28%, then you're going to be struggling. Or add some tutoring in or something to make up for what you're losing. Any questions on inflation rate and how to explain it? So there's one on both. I think the one on the take home is really interesting because you're looking at the last couple of years and then the year with COVID to see how much it actually went up. And it's a big difference in the past year than the other years preceding. So I think it's really interesting. But I also wanted to make sure you were able to find inflation rate and understand it. So then there's one on the in-class portion. Any questions on it? Good. Everyone's good with using it for the take home? And I did give months that way because previously I used to just give years, but then I get so many different answers because depending on the month that you use, they're different. That was number 10. I'm using the history of minimum wage. Okay, so that's the other line. For this one, I just took a picture of a certain group of them. For the in-class. I don't know. Is it on the take-home? Did anyone look at the take-home? Inflation rate's number 1. It wasn't hourly minute, number 7. So number 7 is on the take-home, but then there's also a part on the in-class. So let's go with, just trying to make sure I didn't note this one on this side. So this is our hourly minimum wage, federal. You'll always go with this value, like these two. This is farming. These other ones, well, no farm, they use different, I don't know why they have this here, but. So always use the value on the left. Okay, so from January 1961, we'll go with January 1st. If we, I don't think the date matters. And December 1961, was minimum wage the same?
No.
So no, what was it and why? So I want to make sure you understand how to use it. And I think the one on the in-class is very similar to that. So if we go with January 1961, what was the minimum wage? Because January is before September. So if it's before, then it goes here. So everything from March of 1956 until September 3rd, 1961 was $1. So January's in here, it's $1. How about in December? So they weren't the same. The reason they're not the same is September 3rd, 1961, it changed. So up until September 3rd, it was $1. So you need to explain that. Any questions on that? Could do absolute change. Again, well, we talked about relative percent change, but we haven't talked about absolute change yet. I know it's somewhere in here. How do you find absolute change? Subtract them. New minus old. Increased by 15 cents. So minimum wage increased by 15 cents. Absolute change keeps your units the same. Relative change makes it a decimal. Relative percent change makes it a percent. So if you're going to compare ones, different segments, then you'd want to compare their relative percent change. Your units aren't the same. Relative percent, new minus old divided by old. If we want the percent, we multiply by 100. Um, 14%? No, 15%. So minimum wage went up 15% on September 3rd, 1961. Any questions on using the table? Ask now, you can't ask during the exam. Any questions? On the in-class portion, I have a picture of a group of it. So I just took a picture with my computer of like one segment. And then on the take home, you'll have a computer look it up. And the link is on Blackboard. Under chapter 4. So they're right here, the two. I will put another group of them under. I'll just put them out here with the tutoring and stuff. So anytime you miss class, this is the classroom link. It will bring you into this, where you can watch it. But I also record it under each week. Class recording. We're on number 12. So if 3 billion per hour is consistent with 45 million per minute. I don't know, what do we do? Pick one and go to the other and see if they're comparable. So 3 billion per hour. Remember, per means survive. Billions per hour, we want to find out per minute. This was a problem I used to have on the co-ref part with no calculator. Hours, we need minutes. Billion. How many zeros is a billion? Billion. Hours, simple. First you can just plug that in your calculator. If you weren't using a calculator, the zeros would cancel. And then I'm going to use 30. 30 divided by 6 is 5. Then I have 1, 2, 5. Here's one. So these two would not be the same. It would be million is not close to 45 million. Any questions on that? I just. Fine. This one, divided by 65. Oh, I counted wrong. There's 7 zeros there. 3 times. Count my zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you did have to do this without a calculator, show all your work, so I'm gonna need it. Or mistakes like I just did. 50 million, that's approximately 45 million. 45 million rounds to 50 million. Now, it would depend on your explanation of whether you think they're comparable or not. 5 million is a lot, if you're talking about money. So that would just be knowing that you can explain yourself. Is there any questions on that? Now, 5 million, that would definitely be different. Any questions? So you need to be able to convert values easily. You drive 60 years of your life. And you drive 30 miles a day. How many miles will you drive in a lifetime? How are you going to decide? Do I put time on the top? Miles on the top? Well, look at what you're looking for. We're looking for miles in a lifetime. Miles needs to be on top. Lifetime, days, months, years. That will be your bottom. Because you want miles in a lifetime, miles per lifetime. So miles per day. When you have a lot of things that you're looking at, you're not sure which ones to start with your answer and see what you can work with. I know I needed miles per lifetime, so I wanted miles on top. So I started with this. We could have started with this. I think it's a little more confusing. I like a rate to work with. We wanted miles, so we're done with that. We need to convert this to years. What can we use? 365 days. And do we put days on the top or the bottom? Which one? Oh, okay. I thought I heard both answers. And 65 days. Yeah. Now, of course, you could round that to 400. That's used as a decimal a lot. Yeah, this would be a good one. Find the exact value and then find it rounding. This would be a good one for that type of question. Now, we have days. We want to keep miles, but instead of years, we want lifetime. And you're driving 60 years of your life. That way then have miles per lifetime. So find the exact value and then find the value rounding. Miles a day. I guess 30 miles a day isn't very much. Now, estimating, just take each of them. So the first thing I would do on estimating, I'd keep my 30. When you're estimating, you use two little wiggly lines with an equal sign. It means you're estimating rounding. 365, I'd definitely go at 400 and keep the 60 for now. Now, if you could take 3 times 4 times 6 and you're fine with that, then you can. If you wanted to round more, you could. Not sure what I would round. I know that 3 times 4 is 12 with 3 zeros. And I know 6 times 12 is 72. So my estimate would be 720,000 miles in a lifetime. Yours could be different depending on how you would round it. Maybe when you got this, you'd round this to a 10 and then get 700,000. But that would be up to you. Any questions? So there's definitely at least one, and I think it's on the in class, where you have to set it up, find the exact value, and then find the estimate. Any questions on it? That would be a good one to say, put it also in scientific notation. Oh, I didn't realize I had this in here. Oh. I guess it's time to stop. Number 14, we did once just like it, but let me do it real quick since we already did it. When you're dividing, you divide your numbers. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And then you subtract your exponents. 14 minus 6, 8. And then that would be scientific notation. The other one, since it's positive, we need to move the decimal over 8. 300 million. Because it asks for both for practice. The other one was a multiplication, 5 times 10 to the 8th, 7 times 10 to the 4th. Multiply your two numbers, 35 times 10, add the exponents, 8 and 4 is 12. But this is not in scientific notation. So I'm going to move my decimal over 1. I'm taking away a unit here. So I'm going to add it here. So scientific notation would be 3.5 times 10 to the 13. And then moving it over 13 would be 1. $35 trillion. Any questions on that? If you do not have any questions, I will see you